Hi, this is Bruce with Blue Sky Video Productions here on BSVP on site. We have a fantastic guest. We're talking about branding, not only for your own company, but also your personal branding, because got to say, you're not going to be with the same company forever unless you own it. So again, you got to create your own personal brand. You got to create your brand for your company. So let's get into the show. Hey there, Eric.
Hey, man, that was a great intro. Thank you for that.
Yeah, we actually premiered that here for the very first time.
I'm going to start like carrying you around with me everywhere I go, and just everywhere I walk in, I'm going to have that music played. That was outstanding. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Theme song, branding.
So let's start off with, I always like to get into how things begin. So let's talk about how we first met. It was all virtual and kind of got started after the pandemic started, and this group just kind of formed. And then you had the great mind to actually bring in the best of the best. And it's more than just a mastermind.
Yeah, I think we met through Jeffrey Gittimer was doing a live every day right after the pandemic started, and so I found the opportunity to pull some people away that I felt like could really benefit each other from a branding standpoint, a marketing sales point, a YouTube specialist standpoint that you are, and everyone could help everybody else. So we started a group, and it's been amazing. I think the friendships have been great, and the support has been amazing, and so just a fun group. The Megamind group is a blast, and I'm glad to be a part of it with you. And you are my YouTube specialist, and I appreciate that.
Thank you. And you're my sales marketing specialist too. Although we do have a number of salespeople in the group.
Yeah.
And so that's usually always been my weakest point. I've been great in marketing, got my degree in marketing, started my marketing company. And then in the early days of my company, sales just came through the door. All I do is put out a message. We were in the phone book. We were in the newspaper with the classified ads, and people just called us up. Then this internet thing came around, and then everybody shifted, and we got into the digital. But I slowed down on my cold calling. I slowed down on my reaching out to people and just waited for the phone to ring. And you can't do that. And he never really could have done that, but even more now.
Well, that's, I think, kind of from a branding standpoint, what you're talking about is what a lot of people struggle with right now is you can't sit back and wait for it to come to you. Well, you can, but social media gives you the opportunity to go out and go get it. You know, we've done a great job at Perfect Crust over the last year and a half. When I started, I took over our Instagram account. We had 29 followers, and we're now almost at 3,500. And some people may look at that and say, well, that's not a lot. But for us, it's about quality over quantity. Of those 3,500, you know, probably 95% are pizza operators, and that's who we want to target, and that's who we want to talk to, and that's who we want to support. And so I think sometimes the miss out there in social media is that you're nothing unless you have 1,000, you know, or sorry, not 1,000, 1 million followers. And it's good for scale on some things. If you make a post and 500 people like it, that's great. But I would rather, like I said, it's quality over quantity, I think. But you definitely with social media have the ability to go get what you want. And I think that's a miss sometimes.
Well, I think we've got a nice audience here. Hi, Wes. Great.
Hey, Wes.
Smile. And again, if you're here for the first time, drop your name in the comments and tell us where you're from. And also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel here and follow us.
Wes does a great job, by the way. I like his lives. He does a really good job.
And then we also got a call in from South Dakota. Hey, Ray.
Ray Soup Campbell. I had Ray on my live last week. Ray's a good dude.
Excellent. And Kellen, she's a lovely pug. And we all love her pugs. So great. And so as far as getting your message out there and followers, it is more quality than quantity. Although in some cases the numbers kind of come in because when you have sales quotas, most people say, well, if I make 1,000 calls, I'll get 100 responses. So
well, that's somewhat true. I think that's kind of an old school, maybe sales manager thought process of, you know, what actions did you take? And I'd rather make 5 quality touches on an account or a prospect than make 50 and 45 of them don't matter, where you're just wasting time. I think that's kind of an old school misnomer in the world, that you've got to make a lot of quality touches, because I think it's just not that way anymore. I think because you can reach people in so many different ways, whether it is old school and it's dropping a card in the mail, or it's making a phone call, or it's somewhat new school, which is, hey, I'm going to follow you on Instagram. I'm going to send you a friend request on Facebook because we're in the same industry. Or I'm going to send you a video on LinkedIn. There's so many different ways to reach people now. And right. Like I said, I don't think you need to make 500 calls anymore. It's like I said, quality over quantity for sure.
So you're doing your research before you call, as opposed to just going through a list of people.
Oh, sure.
Because I can't remember if we've ever bought one of those sales lists, and we're like 80% of them are dead links already.
Yeah. I did that one time. I bought a sales list, and the guy wanted $700 for it, and I talked him all the way down to 50. And I bought the list, and man, so many of those things bounced back. It was just absurd. So
these days, that sales list is basically your LinkedIn profile or your LinkedIn.
Yeah, I use Facebook a lot too. I think a lot of people look at Facebook as just being personal, but for me, talking about building a brand and building your personal brand or your business brand, from a Facebook standpoint, I've got a couple of things that I kind of stand by. I send friend requests to people in the industry that are customers, that are prospects. And I don't run around doing a bunch of email blasts or direct message blasts. And you know what I do? I talk about my family first. I talk about their business second, and I talk about my business last, in that order. And what I mean by talking about my family is, I'm posting pictures of my family and my girls and my son and my wife and what we're doing. And then secondly, I'm sharing their content. If I share their content, what happens is, guess what? They see I shared it. They see that I'm a partner with them. They see I'm trying to help them grow their business. It's powerful. I comment. I like their stuff all the time, prospects or current customers. And then I talk about my business last. I think there is some, there are people out there that say, well, you shouldn't talk about your business. Well, it feeds my family. When people say, hey man, it's not personal, it's business, that's the biggest load of garbage I've ever heard, because it is personal, because that feeds my family. So it's personal. But the other thing is, it defines you somewhat. So I don't try to throw it in everybody's face, but people know I'm a pizza guy. I branded myself personally as the pizza guy. Which is, it's okay. I've been in the business a long time, and you've got to brand yourself personally and brand your business. So I had a couple of examples that just popped into my head of some social media that was really good and some social media that was bad, that was me, that affected me. Just talking about, we were talking earlier about, building a brand and, in 2020, I've got two great examples. I sat in Houston Hobby Airport, man, I guess it was a year ago now, and my Southwest flight was delayed. And so I put on Twitter, I said, I'm sitting here in Houston, and I'm kind of angry because my flight's delayed. I want to get home. And I'm like, darn you, Southwest. Well, you know what happened? Within a matter of 3 minutes, I got a direct message on Twitter from Southwest, and it was a female, and I think her name was like Jenny or Jennifer. And she commented, she said, hey, I'm really sorry. What's your flight number? What's your name? So I gave it to her, and she wrote me right back within a minute. She said, your inbound flight will be in 15 minutes. You should be home in such and such time. And I was like, that's incredible. What an amazing thing to do. And she took it a step further. She said, I know you're kind of upset. I totally get it. What if I gave you a free Wi-Fi code on your next flight? Win. Incredible, right? So social media, from the standpoint of branding, you have the ability to give your business a voice, an attitude, a personality, and people don't take advantage of that. Here's the other example of that. Bought a new toothbrush from Oral-B about 4 or 5 weeks ago. It's one of those ones where you hit the little button and it vibrates, right? Well, I'm literally brushing my teeth, and part of it broke, like in my mouth. I thought I broke a tooth or something. And so anyway, I took a picture of it broken, and I took a picture, and I followed Oral-B on Instagram, and they post every day, right? And I sent them a direct message. I said, hey, I just bought this a couple weeks ago. Can you send me a replacement? Here's my address. And you know what? They've still never seen it. They've never responded to it. And it's just such a miss because we don't live in that world anymore. We live in the world now, where you have the opportunity to say, you know what, we're going to fix that right now. Because what would I do if they did that? I'm probably going to share that out to my friends and say, look, this is awesome. Look what this company did. And it's just such a miss. But one of the things too, just talking about social media is I've had a lot of coffee this morning, Bruce, but I think people look at social media as it's easy, and it's not. It's work. And so I always like to do something a little fun, but when you're doing social media, you got to put your hard hat on and get to work, Bruce, right? So you got to get up every day. You've got to post 3-4 times a day. I think we were on the same call the other day when someone said, how often should I post? And it's like 3 or 4 times a day and talking about your business. And this person said, what? I can't do that. Like, that's too much. Well, social media is a process and it's not a project. And so you've got to spend the time and you've got to put the work into it. Follow all your customers and prospects, every one of them possible. Like and comment as many times a day as you can. If somebody comments on your stuff, you need to comment back. Why? Because it's the equivalent of, let's say you and I are walking through the grocery store and we're in the frozen food section and we walk by each other pushing our cart, and I say, hey, Bruce, and you just keep going. You're a jerk. Makes you a jerk. So reply back to people. Post 3 or 4 times a day. I talk a lot about your posts need to do 3 things. They need to inspire, they need to connect, and they need to educate. If they're not doing any of those, don't post it. Inspire, connect, and educate. We talked about personally, if it's your own personal Facebook, your own personal Instagram, talk about your family first, your customers and prospects second, talk about your business last. Some of the things that we do that have made our brand really successful, every morning on Instagram, I send anywhere between 15 and 20 direct message voice messages to customers and prospects. And it literally can be, hey, Bruce, man, we appreciate using Perfect Crust Pizza Liners. I hope you have a great day. Call me if you need anything. And they are so powerful. They're powerful because people get to hear my voice, right? They get to hear the inflection, the tone. And who else does that? No one does that. We also, from a brand standpoint, we send video messages on LinkedIn. I think some of it is, are we branding or are we selling? And there's a balance between doing both. We try to constantly be on brand and talking about, how much we love supporting the industry and what it feels like when the customer's pizza gets home and it's still crispy. But yet at the same time, I have a goal of getting, 40 to 50 sample requests a week. So part of our direct messages, like on LinkedIn, on Instagram, as an example, is everybody gets that sample link all the time. I want samples. Samples for us equal sales. We have about a 60% close rate. So if somebody gets a sample, they're probably going to buy our product. Sorry, I've had a lot of coffee and I just talked a lot, Bruce.
Okay, so let's catch up on our comments here. I guess we already got Kellen. And hi, Michelle.
Hey, Michelle.
And Megamind, yep, definitely.
She is Megamind. She's mega amazing.
Yeah, follow that hashtag if you can. I think we post a lot of good content on all the platforms.
A lot. Yeah.
Hi, Norm. Norm was actually out
Norm.
last week. And Norm,
I remember seeing Norm on here.
Yep. Yeah. Norm was, and talking about what we were talking about earlier was we talked about what's called the 99.1% rule last week, and which is 90% of people on the internet, and pretty much in any instance, usually it's just watching. They sit back and they just observe.
Yep.
They don't participate and they don't engage.
Yep.
But 9% do engage. Those are the people who share. Those are the people who like and comment.
Yep.
And share the message, even though if they're not creating the content. And then the 1% are those who are creating the content.
Yeah.
And then like this, like you, like me, most of the people watching here are creating content.
Yep. Yep.
And it's more than just a post or a tweet. It's actually engaging. It's actually creating value. It's creating videos like this, which is real content, creating blog posts that people are going to share. Because if people aren't sharing your tweets, then what's the purpose of tweeting?
They're not good tweets then, are they?
Nope.
One of the things about doing things like this as well, in my opinion, is, from a marketing standpoint, we talk about popping the hood and let people see the engine. And it's not just, posting a picture and saying, oh, here's a perfect crust pizza liner, and we move on. It's, hey, this is me. I work here. This is Lloyd. Lloyd works here. We want people to see a different side. We want people to see the engine. We want people to see, what the product looks like. We want people to see the case that it comes in. There's such a myth sometimes in the industry, in our industry, that we deal with a lot, where we see people that it's literally what they're posting on Instagram is the same picture that they're putting in the magazine ad, and they're totally different platforms, and you've got to look at them different. So,
well, even across platforms, the same picture you put on Twitter may not be the same picture you put on Instagram, especially since dimensions are different, and you can't really adapt to each of those. And we always recommend that you post natively to that platform.
Yeah. So, hey, I've got something else I wanted to share that was on my mind today, if you don't mind. So I'm going to hijack your show for just a minute. But I have to say,
we'll get back to the comments, because I think Ray's got a good question.
Oh, what do you got? Well, let's see Ray's question. What's Ray's question?
Okay, so what's the best prospecting tip you have for both for best success with you today?
I would, for me, for my business, and I know what your business is, it's definitely Instagram for us. Because if we follow a pizzeria, we can literally direct message them. And every account has direct messaging on it. Same thing with Twitter. You can direct message someone. Facebook's a little different, where, can you direct message as the business? It's a little harder. But what would be my best prospecting tip? I would look at the industry that you're in and how can you get to those people. And I think one of the big misses in business is we look at Facebook and we say, well, that's my personal. It's all one thing. You've got to, it's all part of you. It's all part of your personal brand. Your work brand and your personal brand very much do this. And so I would be on Facebook and I would be following, try to find as many customers as possible and send friend requests. Be friends with them. Don't blast them with your business. Bruce accepts my friend request. I'm not going to hey, can I talk to you about Perfect Crust Pizza Line? Just be a friend. Be a friend.
Yep.
I think that's one of the biggest misses, that people look at that and say, well, I can only do that on LinkedIn. But there is something called social selling, and it's a different type of selling. You're going to get, it's just a different way of doing business, but it's out there. And I think people miss that.
With us, I think in the early days of Twitter, we set up lists, and we were different than followers. And we had a list of people that we wanted to get in front of. And then, so by creating that list within Twitter, and that still exists today, is you filter out all of that noise, and you're just looking at those prospects that you're looking to engage with, and then engage with them, share their posts, like their posts, comment on their posts, because mostly on Twitter, people feel that I'm just going to throw my message out there, and then I'm going to go to my next message and throw that one out there, and they don't expect the engagement.
Right.
And when you do start engaging with them, you're surprising them, and they get to notice you. Also, I think in watching other people's live videos and commenting there, like this one. I know we haven't actually met in person with Ray, but I'm going to start following him. I also noticed that he subscribed to my channel. So again, now he's engaging, and it's only proper to re-engage.
There you go. It's great. Well, what I was going to say earlier before Ray's question is one saying that I've had for a long time that feels like it's been on my brain a lot lately is the good old days are always today. We just don't realize it for 10 years. And so, from a social media standpoint, be active, be engaged, post a lot of pictures, post a lot of video, because you'll look back in these pictures and these videos 10 years from now and you'll laugh. We look back sometimes on the hardest times in our life, and we look back on them, and we remember. You can hear stories about, gosh, in the 90s when we first got married, we had a 1-bedroom apartment and times were tough, but we were never closer together. Sometimes even we look back on the hard times and we look back at the silver lining, we look back on what we learned, and we look back on it fondly. And so the good old days are always today. We just don't realize it for a decade. And so I would challenge you all as you're out working today, appreciate today, because you will look back 10 years from now and go, man, remember when Bruce and I did that first live together? Now we've done 20 of them and they're successful and it's amazing. And, do you remember the first time we did that? And, you wore a hard hat and that was so stupid. And, you know, so like I said, it's just something that's been on my mind lately, and just felt like just throwing it out there.
So have fun. Things are going to be down, but then you appreciate the happy times more.
Yep. Yep. No doubt. No doubt.
And so we have some more highs. Hi, JR.
JR, how are you, sir? Eric Baxter. JR is a good dude.
And then here's another comment from Norm. Research is key prior to making cold call. And you guys always have something new and important to talk about before you make the follow-up call. So it's not
just to answer that, because I know Norman had mentioned that, I think maybe last week. Research now is so much easier than it's ever been. You know, I mean, you can just, you know, I have guests on an Instagram Live every day, and you can see their Facebook information. You can Google information. You can get on their LinkedIn. I mean, to make any kind of cold call anymore is almost ridiculous. Everything is probably more of a warm call than anything else, or it should be. So,
yeah, because even though they may not have heard of you, you've done your research to the point where they say, well, it feels like you know who I am already.
Yep, 100%. Norm's right.
And answer your phone.
Answer your social media phones.
Yep. Because actually, that's another way we've been contacting, because there are some people I don't have their phone number. I don't have their email, but we're connected on Facebook. I can send them a message through Facebook Messenger, and if it's personal, they're going to respond.
Yeah. You know, to answer that question, Brian, in maybe to actually talk about an actual real physical phone that we don't answer the phone much anymore. You know what's pretty powerful is to send a text first and say, hey, this is Eric with Perfect Crust. We need to talk. I'm going to give you a shout in an hour. And then that way they have your phone number and they recognize it and they answer it versus a call that they don't know. But Bruce, you're right also from the standpoint of, I do that a lot where, you know, because you can FaceTime somebody on Facebook Messenger, I'll literally just call somebody up like, hey man, how's it? I did it yesterday. Tim, the wrestler, who's on the Jeffrey Gittimer Live almost every day. Yesterday, I thought, you know, I'm going to call him. And so I literally just FaceTimed him. And he's like, hey, how are you? You know, it's okay. It's okay. We live in a world where people are used to that. It's okay to reach out to people different than we used to even 10 years ago, which seems crazy. So.
And if they don't have their best face on, they can always just do a voice message with you.
Yep. No doubt. No doubt.
So here's a good comment from Kara. You do a good job of defining your brand versus you. You work in the pizza industry, love your family, and are motivating and positive. Most people, I always love reading blindly.
Most people only talk about one of those three, and you do all three. Well, thank you for that. I think sometimes you may have 3 or 4 different things, Kara, that you brand yourself as, that you feel like, hey, I do a good job at this, this, and this, and maybe some of those others aren't recognized outwardly, but I think subtly they're recognized. I think people see pictures of your family and your friends and what you're doing, and if it's being involved at your church or whatever it is. I think some of it sometimes can just be a subconscious thing where people, like, they may not talk about it, but they do realize it's there. So,
but sometimes you have family members like, I don't want to be in that video. I don't want to be in that photo. So you get a dog. I mean, that's always been my drop back to safety is your dog always wants to be on camera.
There you go.
Always wants attention.
Yeah, that's 100% true. 100% true. So
here's a comment on you. You need a hard hat and a perfect crust dimple pattern.
I do, don't I? I do.
Yeah, so can you make a hard hat out of your crust liner?
You probably could. I need to probably do that for sure. So, by the way, I have my Brian Monahan book open to today. I read it. I advise everyone to go pick this up. Great book, Customer Delight 365. Great book. So,
yeah, it's not a book you have to get through in one day. It's a book you get through in 1 year.
Yes.
And then you go back to the very beginning of the very next year.
Yep. No doubt.
It's an easy read. It's like actually, Brian, have you ever thought about making a daily calendar out of your book? And you can sell the calendar.
Great idea. Yeah.
And then people will buy the calendar.
I buy 100 of those and just give them out to my friends. So,
heard about share about sales versus branding, another broadcast. Which one do you think is more value?
I think branding is definitely more valuable. It's a great question. I think we had talked about last week, Brian, you could put 10 days into, well, this is 5. You could put 10 days into one sale and the sale ends, but you could put 1 day into branding and get 10 days residual from it. And so I think there's a balance. I mean, my title is Vice President of Sales and Marketing. And so I have 2 different hats, and I look at things from both different ways, because you have to. You have to have sales. You can't just sit and I'm not in the position where I can just sit and just market the brand constantly, and never worry about actual, invoices coming in. So you have to strike the balance that works for you. But if I had to err 51% on one side, it would be the branding side, because I think it just pays residuals, for such a long time. And, one of the things talking about from a Facebook standpoint or an Instagram standpoint of your own personal page, your own personal Instagram, your own personal LinkedIn, if you're connected with the right people, you're sharing their content, you're talking about your brand and what you do on a lesser level, guess what? Through that process, you become the expert in your industry. People perceive you as the expert in your industry. You'll learn a lot too. So you'll be branded as the guy, whether it's in my industry or it's in, video, YouTube, or, Brian, if it's in the convention space that you're in, you'll become the leader in the industry by perception.
Right. And again, some people define brand as what your customers think of you more than who you think you are.
Mm-hmm.
And so by creating that, I guess, idea and that value, then people, when they talk about you when you're not in the room, that could be that's your brand.
Well, that's probably the most important brand, is what they think about you when you're not in the room versus what you think. You can think about what you are all day long, but which matters, because it's the way you're trying to go. But at the same time, really, it probably matters what your customers and your prospects think about you more than anything else. So definitely. So
relief anchoring.
Yes.
And great idea. Actually, so this, we not only give you ideas here on a general basis, we actually give you ideas on a personal basis, something you can take away. So again, we really haven't talked about anything about pizza yet, have we? So
that's okay.
Who you are, what you do, and how you sell, and create your personal brand, because you do that Instagram live. Mm-hmm. every day. At least your company does it every day. You're not on every single episode.
Yeah, I'm on most. We've got a couple where I've got a West Coast guy, Lloyd Oshiro loves to do it sometimes, and there are certain guys that he likes and knows very well, and so we let him jump in and do it. But it does build our brand. We started doing it, the week after COVID-19 hit and kind of shut everything down, and it's brought tremendous value to us. We want to help the pizza industry, and so that was a way we felt like we could help, which was let guys get on here and bring ideas of what's working in the market for everybody. And so it's just been tremendous, from that standpoint. We've picked up followers, we've picked up sample requests. It's just been amazing. And quite honestly, Bruce, I would say 70%, 80% of those live videos we do, we don't even talk about our product. All we do is talk about them. Now, if they buy our product, I may say at the very end, hey, thank you so much for using our product. And if they want to talk about it for a minute, that's great. But I don't even care if we talk about it or not, because they're on our page, they're watching it. You don't have to sit there and go, hey, I'm Eric, I'm with Perfect Crust Pizza, because they already know who I am. It's right here.
Yep.
So,
and again, they're following you, or they're stumbling upon you, and your message is there. But by adding value, and they're going to share it out with their friends and their friends.
Yep, no doubt. I know we're running up against about 30 minutes, and you said keep it short. I do have one kind of branding tip from a personal standpoint that I'd love to share, and it's one that I think is somewhat basic, but I don't think a lot of people have thought about it. So if you want to find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, they're all at the Eric Bam. And so I would challenge you all to make it easy for people to find you on social media, and look at all of your social media and find something that works. Eric Bam wasn't available, so I went with the Eric Bam. So, maybe Bruce, I'm sure your name's available, right?
Yep. Actually, I claimed that in the early days, and then I left it to rebrand myself as BSVPTV across everything.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah, I would tell everybody to, that's one of the things I would look at today if I was everyone, just to make it easy. And if a new platform comes up, like TikTok, guess what? The Eric Bam. You can find me on TikTok. If something is emerging, jump on there. Even if you're not going to be active on there, jump on there and get the name. And keep it simple so you can say, if somebody says, hey, are you on Instagram? Yep, the Eric Bam. Hey, are you on LinkedIn? Yep, the Eric Bam. Hey, are you on Facebook? Yep, the Eric Bam. It makes it so easy. I would challenge everybody to look at that today, just from a branding standpoint, from a personal branding standpoint. It makes it really easy.
Yep, and then can be consistent across, as opposed to being Eric Bam on one platform, the Eric Bam on another platform, and the dash Eric Bam on a third platform.
Right. And never be the underscore. Don't do an underscore in your name. Don't be the underscore Eric underscore Bam. And that's just a personal, I hate underscore. So there are people that know me very well that hate that I hate that.
Unless you're a cool college kid. Then your name is underscore dot, then your name.
Yes. Don't do that. Don't do that. So
here's a comment from Kelly. People look, and again, this is great about what's great about not being on a network TV show is you're not limited to half an hour. If we need to go 34 minutes,
okay, all right,
more content, we can, as long as you have time.
I do.
So you make people look forward to their lives, create anticipation that makes people put their lives on their calendar.
Well, that's something, we talked about last week. I feel like, I'd mentioned I was on Brian Monahan's live, and we were talking about my friend Kelly that had passed away. And she would leave Facebook for 6 months at a time, and she regretted it. She passed away from breast cancer, and she regretted having 6-month gaps on her. What I look at Facebook, and I feel like it's the equivalent of your grandmother's photo album that was on her coffee table. And when you leave Facebook, or you don't post pictures and you don't post videos, you're missing out on stuff that could be passed down, or people could watch years from now. Facebook's not going anywhere. And so she passed away with a 2-year-old son who's now almost 5, and parts of her life that could be documented on Facebook are gone. And so I would tell you, hey, post all you can on Facebook, post all you can on Instagram. We don't run and print pictures off like we used to and put them in grandma's photo album.
Yeah. Although my mother has left me her phone, and all her photos are on there. And that's so cool. I've shared those with the family.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I love it.
And so Ray appreciates the tips on prospecting. Thank you. And as Jeffrey says, Eric. Okay, thank you. I guess that was going back to this comment. You know who you are. You're building a rapport, building a relationship. And that's by going live, by creating content, and people get to know you. People get to know me. And so even though we're still located here in a small suburb of Chicago, my message has reached coast to coast.
Yeah.
And yours as well.
Yeah. And that's I think just kind of talking about COVID hit, and now you see a lot of people talk about in the sales industry, we've got to bring value. We were always bringing value. I was always bringing value. You just bring value in a different way. You bring value through there's Ray, provide value. You provide value differently now than you used to before. You can provide value by sharing content. You can provide value by liking content. You can provide value by sending a quick video saying, hey, by the way, I'm at such and such. Have you seen this? There's so many different ways to bring value. Bring value. I've been kind of in this Zig Ziglar mode lately, and listening to those as I'm walking on the treadmill. Old school Zig Ziglar would almost kind of flip out a little bit if he had the tools that we have available today. We have the greatest communication device ever made right here in our hand, and we're not very good at using it. And Zig Ziglar would probably take a cell phone and never leave it. He'd probably be on it nonstop, blowing people up with videos and audio messages. And but to come back to talking about bring value, Zig Ziglar used to say, if you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want. And that's bring value, right? And if I help you get what you want, I'm going to grow in the process.
Right.
So and maybe it's not an immediate thing where I bring value. I share something with you. I help you grow your business. I put this contact that you have with this contact that you, and bring people together. I may not grow immediately from it, but your reputation and your brand grows to where you'll learn and you'll get from it down the road. I'm a big fan of what you do today. You may not get paid for today, but what you do today, you may get paid for down the road. So put the work in, because you never know who's watching, and you never know how it pays off with what you learn and who you meet. So
Ray's wondering if AdSoup is available.
I would bet AdSoup is probably not available.
At pizza. I think it also helps in my case that I have a unique name. So it also really helps. Yeah. And I haven't become too famous where someone else has gotten it.
Now you might check out at Ray Soup. That may be available, but Soup is not available.
Nope. And Bruce is an idea machine. Thank you.
Bruce is amazing. He's like YouTube Megamind Pro certified.
Yeah, I love that. One of my favorite comments or quotes is, if you say it, it's bragging, but if your client says it, it's a testimonial.
There you go.
And that's actually getting back to the question earlier. That's a good way of prospecting, is if you create video testimonials from your client, not just written testimonials, and post them on YouTube and post them on your website, post them across your platforms, and get a number of them so you have a variety to share.
Yeah, regarding that, we just flat out ask. I think there's nothing wrong with saying to a good customer, hey, would you give us a testimonial? We get them all the time. We get videos sent to us. We get pictures sent to us of customers just going like, I love this. And I think it's okay to ask, as long as you're kind of hat in hand a little bit. And, hey, thank you for your business. We so much appreciate it. Would you mind giving us a testimonial? People will give those to you all day long, but yet salespeople are afraid to ask for them.
Yep.
So,
and some people are taking the Jedi mind trick, which is basically, well, I did a really good job, and I just expect you to eventually just to do it.
It's not going to happen. Not going to happen.
So here's another comment. How about this one?
No.
Underscore.
Don't do underscore soup or anything like that. So no underscore. No underscore.
Okay. And I click at Ruby Doodle all day.
Yeah. So that's Michelle referencing our 16-month-old daughter, Ruby. And, I've got a beautiful 16-month-old daughter and a beautiful 8-year-old daughter. And I love to share pictures of them. And like I said, it's something that connects me to other people. People can look at both those and say, oh my gosh, I have an 8-year-old. I had a prospect 6-7 months ago. When he found out I had an 8-year-old daughter, he had one, and he said, man, you have LOL dolls all over your house. I'm like, they're everywhere. And it started a conversation about LOL dolls. And Bruce, you may not even know what those are, but they're little dolls about this big, and these girls collect them. And so it was one of those things that we bonded over that, and we still joke about it now. And now he's a customer too. So it's why you talk about family first, customers and prospects second, your business last.
And so did you buy Ruby a web page? Or
no,
we have not URL before you named her?
No, we've not. No.
Yeah, so these days I think people are looking for the web URL for their child before they even name the child. Like, okay,
she does have a Facebook. They both have Facebook pages before they were born. So they're being tagged in pictures as they grow up, which is amazing.
Great. And thank you for the comment, Kellen. And how do you do, that was mine.
Ray, I don't know what that means, but we can talk afterwards. We can talk about how.
I think that was soup. Or maybe actually it was the Eric Bam. I think he wants that one as well.
Can't have that. Can't have that.
So great. Once again, great conversation. I think great engagement from the comments. Thank you all for watching. And if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel or even followed Eric on his channels, all the Eric Bam. And once again,
See how easy that was, by the way, Bruce?
So I guess he says he's got AdSoup.
Well, he's not getting soup. I'm just telling you right now, it's not available. I'd love to get at pizza, but I can't. So, it's just, that's not, soup's not going to be available, Ray. You got to find something else. So.
Great. Again, you've been wonderful, and thank you for being on. And I understand you're hitting the live circuit coming up soon. So keep an eye out for Eric on other platforms.
Yeah, I'll be with Mark Gassert Thursday night. and I think 10 o'clock, maybe, I can't remember. And then I'll be on with Ken Walls next week, probably talking about some of the same stuff, because it's basic stuff, but some people don't do it and some people don't get it. And so you've got to brand yourself, brand your business, pull them both together. Bruce, you do a great job of that. You're incredible and your hair looks great.
Thank you. And I think Ray's finally clarified. Hashtag soup. There you go.
Nice.
You can claim any hashtag.
Yeah, you can use any hashtag you want.
There you go. And hashtag, we actually did some programs on hashtags for search and discovery. So great. Yep. Thank you much.
Well, thank you for having me on, brother. I appreciate it.
And let me see if I can get next week we have a great guest. Her name is Kim Garst, and she has been recognized by Forbes magazine as one of the top women in social media. So
awesome.
Tune in next week. Great. And if you're watching this on the replay, the link should be right there. So stay tuned for my links here, and subscribe there. And we welcome you for a great show. Thank you much.